My name is Elias Monroe. I am 72 years old. For most of my life, I believed I was doing everything the right way. But looking back now, I realize I was slowly trading my life for comfort. When I was 6, the world felt simple in the way only a child can understand. I remember the smell of my mother's laundry soap, the creak of the porch steps, and the exact sound the screen door made when it slammed behind me. Back then, life wasn't something I questioned. It was just happening, and I believed it would happen forever. I used to sit on the curb and watch cars pass, imagining that every person inside had some great purpose, some story, some destination that mattered. I wanted a destination too, but the adults around me didn't talk about purpose. They talked about rent. They talked about being practical. They talked about what you should do, not what you want. No one meant to teach me fear. But they did. They taught me that the safest life was the best life. And at 6 years old, I believed them. I didn't understand time then. I thought it belonged to me. I thought the future was a place you simply arrived at, like a train station where everyone eventually gets off and starts living. But time isn't a station. It's a current. It keeps moving whether you swim or not, whether you fight or not, whether you pay attention or not. And the cruel part is this: when you're young, time moves so quietly you don't notice it stealing from you. It takes your summers first, then your holidays, then the people you love, then your confidence, then your courage. And you don't feel the loss until you've already lost so much that you start measuring your life in photographs instead of years. At 15, I became an expert at pretending I didn't care what people thought, pretending I didn't feel small, pretending I didn't want more than the life everyone else seemed satisfied with. I had this secret dream, something I never told anyone. I wanted to make music, not as a hobby, not as a cute little side thing. I wanted to disappear into it, to be consumed by it, to feel like I was alive for a reason. But in my house, dreams were treated like childish noise. So I learned a lesson that ruined more of my life than any mistake I ever made. I learned to silence myself before anyone else could. That's how fear wins. It convinces you that rejection would be worse than regret. And when you're young, you believe it. You don't realize regret is patient. Regret will wait decades to collect what you owe. Teenage years feel like a courtroom. Every hallway feels like you're being judged. Your clothes, your voice, your confidence, your face, even the way you stand. And when you're young, you mistake that judgment for reality. So you start shaping yourself to fit into other people's expectations. You learn which opinions to repeat, which jokes to laugh at, which parts of your personality to hide. You tell yourself it's temporary. You tell yourself you'll be real later, but later becomes a habit, and habits become a life. That's what scares me now. Not that I was afraid as a teenager, but that I kept obeying that fear long after I was old enough to choose differently. At 23, I had a fork in the road. I could have taken a chance, moved to a bigger city, tried to build a life around what I loved, or I could do what everyone called smart, get a stable job, build a safe foundation, avoid risk. I chose safe, and I told myself a story to make it sound noble. I said I was being responsible. I said I was being mature. I said I would chase my dream later when the timing was better.
But later is a word that hides a lie. Later is what you say when you're scared. And fear, dressed up as maturity, looks exactly like wisdom until years pass and you realize you built a life you never actually wanted. That's the moment you discover you can do everything right and still end up somewhere that feels wrong. There's a moment in life when motion starts to feel like progress. You're busy, you're tired, you're always going somewhere, always doing something, always handling things, and because you're moving, you assume you're advancing, but you can move in circles for decades and still end up exactly where you started, except older, heavier, and more afraid. I spent years looking out windows, car windows, office windows, apartment windows, thinking I was on the way to something. The truth is, I was on the way to the same tomorrow, repeated again and again until it became my whole life. And the worst part, I defended it. I called it normal, because admitting you're lost is painful and pretending you're fine is easier. When I was 29, I still had friends who felt like family. We went out at night, laughed too loud, made plans we thought we'd keep. We talked about how we'd never become boring, how we'd never let work steal our lives, how we'd always show up for each other. But friendships aren't killed by one big event. They're killed by 1,000 small choices. I'll call him next week. I'm too tired tonight. I'll make it up later. And then one day you hear through someone else that a friend moved away or got sick or died, and you realize you weren't part of their life anymore long before they were gone. That's when regret hits you like a punch. Not because you hated them, because you loved them, just not loudly enough. There's something haunting about a phone when it's silent, not the silence of peace, the silence of distance. A screen can hold 100 names, but still feel empty, because connection isn't stored in contacts, it's stored in effort. I used to think relationships were like furniture. You buy them once, put them in your house, and they stay there. They're not. Relationships are like fires. If you don't feed them, they don't explode, they fade. And you don't notice the cold until you reach for warmth and find none. That's what I wish I could tell my younger self. If you care, prove it while you still can. Don't assume people will always be there. Time doesn't just move forward, it rearranges your life when you aren't looking. People assume heartbreak is dramatic, that it's shouting and doors slamming and tears in the rain. But my heartbreak was quiet. I was dating a woman then, someone who wanted the real me, not the version I performed for the world. She asked questions I didn't want to answer, not because I didn't know the truth, but because the truth would force me to change. Instead of changing, I withdrew. I became distant. I became busy. And one day she looked at me and said, "I don't think you're really here." She was right. I wasn't present in my own life. I was always half gone. Planning, preparing, postponing. She left, and the tragedy was this. I didn't even fight for her the way I should have, because fighting would have meant admitting I was afraid. Rain has a way of making you honest. You can't pretend it's sunny when you hear it tapping the glass. That sound forces you inward. It makes you sit with your thoughts instead of escaping them. I remember nights when the rain fell and I felt this heavy pressure in my chest, like my life was trying to tell me something I didn't want to hear. But I kept turning the volume down. I distracted myself with work, with routine, with noise, because silence asks questions. and I was terrified of my own answers. That's what fear really is. Not panic, but avoidance. It's refusing to look at your life closely because you suspect you won't like what you see. I married later than most of my friends. Her name was Claire. She was warm in a way I wasn't. She laughed easily, forgave quickly, and loved deeply. And I told myself, this is it. This is the beginning. But even in marriage, I kept living like life would start later. We'll be happy when we move. We'll be happy when I get promoted. We'll be happy when things settle down. Years can vanish inside that sentence. We'll be happy when... And one day you look at the person beside you and realize you've spent a decade waiting for happiness instead of building it. You can't deposit love into a future account and expect it to earn interest. Love needs the present. It needs you now. The most painful fights in my marriage weren't loud. They were quiet mornings at the kitchen table, coffee cooling between us, two people sitting close but living miles apart. Because the real conflict wasn't about money or schedules, it was about presence. She wanted me there, with her, with us, with the life we were building. But my mind was always elsewhere, solving problems, chasing stability, trying to secure a future that kept arriving and still never felt safe. And the cruelest truth is this: you can be faithful, you can provide, you can be good, and still fail someone emotionally. Because love doesn't measure your intentions, it measures your attention. I wish I had learned that sooner, before apologies turned into habits and habits turned into distance. By 46, I had what people call success: a respectable job, a decent house, a life that looked stable from the outside. And I remember the exact day I realized I didn't feel proud. I felt numb, not sad, not angry, just numb. Because I had built a life around avoiding fear, and in the process I had also avoided joy. Comfort is seductive. It makes you think you've arrived. But comfort is not fulfillment. Comfort is just the absence of immediate danger. And the absence of danger is not the presence of meaning. That's what no one tells you. You can win at stability and still lose at life. A clock is one of the cruelest inventions humans ever accepted, because it doesn't just measure time, it reminds you that time is leaving. I used to hear ticking late at night and feel this quiet panic, like my life was draining out through invisible cracks. I would think I should change something, and then I'd think tomorrow. Tomorrow is a trap. Tomorrow is how you postpone your soul. Days become weeks, weeks become years, and then you wake up one morning and realize you've been postponing for decades. That's when you understand you don't need more time, you need courage. Courage to disappoint people, courage to be seen, courage to admit you want more than comfort. At 55, life stopped feeling theoretical. A close friend died suddenly. No warning, no long goodbye, just a phone call that changed the way I looked at everything. I remember standing at the funeral and staring at the casket thinking, that's a person who had plans. We all have plans, and death doesn't negotiate with them. That day, I wanted to call everyone I loved and apologize for every time I was absent. But grief fades, routine returns, and people go back to sleep inside their own lives. I did too. That's the terrifying part. Even death doesn't always wake you up permanently. Sometimes it only startles you for a moment. Sunsets used to feel romantic to me. Now they feel like warnings, because a sunset is beautiful, yes, but it also means the day is gone forever. You don't get to redo it. You don't get to fix what you didn't say. You don't get to reclaim what you wasted. You can only watch it disappear and hope you do better tomorrow. But hope without action is just another form of delay. I spent years admiring beauty while refusing to change my life to deserve it. I treated time like a background detail, not like the main character, and time punished me for that, not with drama, but with quiet subtraction. Fewer chances, fewer people, fewer mornings that felt new. At 63, I had the most honest thought of my life. I might not have enough time to become who I was supposed to be. That thought broke me, not because it was dramatic, but because it was true. I looked at my hands and saw age. I looked at my calendar and saw repetition. I looked at my marriage and saw all the moments I replaced with work. And I realized the greatest tragedy isn't dying. The greatest tragedy is living without ever being fully alive. That's when I finally understood my biggest mistake. I didn't fail, I delayed. I postponed my own life until my life nearly ended. If you're young, you think you have time to correct everything. You think you can make mistakes now and fix them later. Sometimes you can, but some things don't come back. Some people don't come back. Some opportunities close quietly and never reopen. And one day, you'll realize you've been living like time is a renewable resource. It isn't. Time is the one thing you spend without seeing the price tag. So please, please, don't make my mistake. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is a myth that keeps you obedient. Choose honesty now. Choose presence now. Choose your life now. Because one day later will turn into never. And you'll finally understand what I'm trying to give you before it's too late.
I cannot change the choices I made in my life, but you still have choices that I no longer have. Please do not wait to live your life.